Hello, everyone. Yay. All right, so we're about to get started. We're going to start channeling Lady Nada and Raphael. Hope you are all doing amazing. Figured I'd just put on my hat really fast. And just in case you do not know, who Lady Nada is, she is one of the great lawyers or lawmakers in Atlantis. She was also really good at promoting family stability, different things like that have to do with like the family structure in general. Oh my God. And sorry, my hair is giving me some trouble here, trying to like just tuck it in so it's not going to bother me. So we have a few questions here on Patreon about for Lady Nada essentially and Raphael. So Raphael is the Archangel of Healing. So if you guys don't know anything about him as well, I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and check it out online. And what I want everyone to do now is just set the intention that we're all in the same room together. And we're going to go ahead and start embracing the energy of Lady Nada first, and then embracing the energy of Raphael. It's important that when we channel, you let go of your mind. You have no expectations. So you're just willing to go with the flow. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out. We're going to take a second to appreciate and say thank you to Lady Nada and to Raphael. Really feel it coming from your heart chakra and your root and sacral chakras. I let go of anything that I'm attached to that's been going on during the day. Lady Nada is here. We're just waiting for a stable connection with Raphael. Everyone take another deep breath. Gonna put in some essential oil here. One more deep breath. Raphael is now here with us as well. All right. Thank you, Lady Nada and Raphael. And let's start off with some of the questions that are here on Patreon. With current events, do you have any guidance for healing and releasing, and how to stay connected to the strings that connect us all to keep the vibration of Earth higher? Ooh, I can feel like that one pulsated this vibration of like, no, that's an illusion. Like you're not focusing on what has to be done right now. So let's get a better representation. Who wants to speak first? Lady Nada wants to speak first. Your intention should not be connecting to the strings of all. Your intention should be maintaining your personal vibration, and that will connect through the strings that perpetually exist throughout infinity. It is ample to understand that in order for us to heal the collective is never separated. The illusions of maintaining strings is a disservice to not only yourself, but to all others pertaining to this mentality structure It is important to understand that all are connected perpetually, and in any family structure and family unit, one must understand that the vibration of self-care is all that is needed to radiate higher levels of self-care towards others. We must learn how to lead by example, not by maintenance. Maintenance of self is essential for progress in any society. To understand the vibration of essence is to be whole with yourself. Once this is attained, all others in the collective will experience a simultaneous shift due to your own personal vibration and calibration. All others in the matrix must experience a shift that comes not only internally but externally as well. The external ripples that are caused by an individual when they harness their own internal potential is the external factor of a collective whole that experiences it from the outside in. Every time one person in the collective expands into the magic of the cosmos, the understanding of the greater family, a magical event or synchronicity happens to another in the collective from an external standpoint. This synchronistic event ends up triggering a cataclysm of sub-events that are located deep within the inner consciousness. One synchronistic event of magic produced by another within the grand collective will trigger an internal response in a second person that experiences the external synchronization. All else follows when we understand the nature of reality and our whole role in playing the shift that we are creating. Earth does not require healing. Earth requires shifting. To alternate your mindset from healing to shifting is to paradigm shift, is to quantum leap. It is integral for the growth of new Earth that all healers still focus on healing, but they change their focal point from once what was healing to shifting or correcting. At this current time space, you are closest located and are set into the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension does not require healing and more so understands itself, so it requires understanding. The more one pursues self-understanding, the higher the vibration that will be calibrated throughout the earth. This, in certain people's illusionary fractal mode of existence, will seem like the world is healing. For others who are conscious of their shifting acts, they will see the world as a multidimensional rift that is shifting through many frames of reality into the highest caliber, which is the parallel we all seek to experience as fifth dimensional New Earth. It is integral to understand that fifth dimensional New Earth is here, it is now. At fifth dimension, everything is contracts. We must understand the contracts in which we have each individually signed and have created as a collective. The human consciousness is one. That one created agreements for the entire society structure, rather through illusionary ignorance or lack of personal self-care. It is integral to understand that the contracts of the third and fourth dimensional earth ley lines and parallels are being broken actively, not through external manipulation through the cosmic womb alone, but through the internal shifting that each one of us is creating in our internal structures of reality. Every inner sanctuary that is purified creates an outer sanctuary that then follows the beat of fifth dimensional New Earth. This is all I can share for now on this matter, but it is integral to understand the aspect of law when it comes to this matter. Law is not unfair. Law does not require healing. Law requires change. Change is the main component of all realities, and this is the ultimate answer unto the perception on which this answer seeks. This question seeks. Okay. So essentially, you are not supposed to be healing people. You're not supposed to be fragmenting yourself, thinking that you have to stay hold of all these other things that are happening in reality. And that you have to understand that everything is contracts. Right now, we have crap contracts. It's like being in a crappy cell phone contract where you're stuck for 2 years, right? We've been stuck here for a while. So right now we have the opportunity to change or break that contract and switch leases and create new ones. So it's very important. Lately, I've been posting a lot of stuff on the shadow. This is the moment right now where we're being forced to look at our shadow, because the shadow is coming through the throat chakra. So when you're authentic with yourself, you're confronting the shadow. When you're looking in for your own wisdom, you're confronting the shadow. When you choose not to demonize the shadow and you choose to be its friend, help it kind of come to a consensus with itself, you are then healing the shadow. All of those shadow aspects are subcontracts that you have created in your reality, whether it's saying that you're in poverty or you have a hard life. All these things are aspects that you have to break internally. When you break that internally, you break it externally, and then you send this wave through reality, and another person ends up experiencing a magical synchronistic event. When that person triggers that magical synchronistic event, then they all of a sudden, bam, are like, whoa, there's more to reality. Only because you decided to deal with your own shadow. Once you do that, and enough people do that, there's more and more waves of higher awareness that triggers us to do small little things, like maybe recycle more often or start gardening, right? An internal shift doesn't have to be this massive thing where one day you wake up and you're just like, reality is a huge illusion, right? It can be like this thing where, like, hey, the life that I was living was the biggest illusion of all. I'm going to become more conscious in my living. That is one of the main components that really runs through Atlantean alchemy, is the fact that the environment shapes us and we are simultaneously shaping the environment. Through Atlantean alchemy, if you've been watching my Atlantean alchemy series or following the neurocodes that I've been publishing, you understand that by activating your magical centers, you are essentially like a plant that comes out of the earth. If you want to exist in New Earth, you need to then exist as a plant that's on that dimensional frequency, coming out of the ground, that grounding sensation of that version of New Earth. Once you understand that, everything else ends up following. So we have a second question here. What factors are required for becoming one with Metatron's cube? What practices can develop these factors? Thank you. Okay, so what factors are required for becoming one with Metatron's cube? This is a good question. All right, so instantly Raphael wants to take over. He wants to be talking about Metatron's cube because he knows it so well. Everyone take a deep breath and let us allow Raphael to speak through our heart chakras. Metatron's cube is simple yet complex. And in order to understand its full composition, one must understand the elements and their primordial nature first. One must understand the geometric shapes that align themselves with each element, similar to what Antojai has taught thus far. Once you understand the elements and the nature of the elements, not just and physical form through the ground, the water, the fire, the air, the cosmos, the ethers. You must understand their geometric composition in all reality. For instance, the sphere is the ultimate shape in all realities. All dimensions are essentially spheres. All angels, known as seraphim, are the largest beings of all the cosmos. The largest beings in the cosmos take the form of a sphere. We can then see this same example in Mother Earth, one of the largest beings taking the form of a sphere. All dimensional realities polarize within a sphere. The sphere is the ultimate shape that transcends not only space, but also time and the illusion of everything in between. The self-creation, the self-illusion, in which each participant creates at a perpetual rate in every reality. In order for one to truly understand Metatron's cube, it is also integral to understand the many templates of life, such as the flower of life, the seed of life, the fruit of life. Metatron's cube is a gateway, not only to the sanctuary of Metatron himself, but to the many templates of reality that can be combined through the synthesis of many vibrations into one cohesive whole. Similar to an alchemy table, Metatron's cube holds the balance of all alchemy. Similar to understanding a Rubik's cube, Metatron's cube can be shaped and shifted not only to understand new higher aspects of reality, but to understand oneself. It is integral that one understands oneself to understand Metatron's cube. Metatron cube is often referred to as an external source, but each man holds the vibration of the elements deep within them. Therefore, Metatron's cube exists as a natural template within the DNA of every human being and every star person incarnated on this planet, which is fifth dimensional New Earth. In order for you to heal, it is integral to understand the nature of natures, north, south, east, west, the elements, ether, cosmos, fire, water, earth, air. It is integral to understand the Platonic solids, icosahedron, icahedron, tetrahedron, cube, sphere. If one can combine the middle ground of all these alchemic templates without judgment, without separation, one then has understood Metatron's cube. For within Metatron's cube lies the many Merkabas, and the principal Merkaba of which Thoth the Atlantean has spoken of. In order for all to really grasp the vibration of the cube, one must understand that Metatron's cube is not solely just a cube. It is a template that can be shifted based off of perception, and this is the greatest aspect of this divine tool. Metatron's physical location at any given moment is at the center of this cube. It is imperative that we understand the name of God when we choose to work with the cube, as the name of God will bring out a higher vibration that the cube can vibrate outward into the cosmos towards creation. Tetragrammatron is one of the names of God. Through other scriptures, like the Great Equinox, we understand that the name of God cannot be fully expressed, as it does not have variations of spoken word that man in this dimension understands. Tetragrammatron is the highest vibration to open up Metatron's cube. Let us practice now with the understanding of Lady Nada and myself, the vibration of Metatron's cube. I invite you all to take a deep breath. I invite you all to let all of your self aspects go. Let go of the illusion of personality. Simply exist as the raw materials of the elements: fire, water, earth, and air. Envision Metatron's cube in your mind's eye. Let go of the hard, rigid patterning that is drawn through the third dimension, as Metatron's cube is not linear with lines. It is frequency that ever vibrates. Let go of the expectation of understanding elements. Let go of the expectation of understanding self. Let go of time. Let go of existence. Simply be present in the center of the cube that is ever changing, ever rotating, always accessing every dimension and every coordinate. As you feel the shifting of the dimensions and of the energies around you, understand that Metatron's cube itself is similar in capacity to the Merkaba and opening up dimensional doorways between worlds. The exact coordinates of every template in the universe exist inside of Metatron's cube. It is the ultimate database to finding all that there is inside of the cosmos. Relinquishing yourself more into this vibration and letting go of your mind, I invite you to recite the name of God, Tetragrammatron, 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 over and over within the self and the elements of the self. Underwater, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Under fire, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Under earth, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Under air, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Under ether, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. And the cosmos, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. For God exists between the gaps of the solid matter and constructs of the mind and spirit. God is beyond the limits of understanding, of definition, and thesis. One must understand the gap in between to resonate with God. Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Relinquish your spine into this vibration and allow your spine to speak Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Deep breath. Let go of the understanding of healing. For healing is a linear aspect to the grander power of which this cube may bring. Let go of the definition of words and how those words have constructed a reality for you. As you do this, the shifting of the cube occurs. The elements of a reality that once served you, ruled you, or held you back have now changed with every alteration and every release that you create within the mind's eye. Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Understand that all chakras exist inside of the cube, and any one singular chakra is illusionary in nature, separating you into one construct or another, not allowing you to see the gaps in between, which is Source, which is God. Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Experience the space between you and your neighbor to be illusionary, and only the understanding of God in which you have never focused your attention. Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Open your hearts to the source of all that is. Allow yourself to become one with the angels, for you are an angelic being that have forgotten the force of heaven. Let go of your ego, for this will limit you from the expansion of the wings and the understanding of that which is unspoken and the true value of the cube and Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron, Tetragrammatron. Experience the earth, a seraphim. Experience the cell, divine. Hold this vibration until the end of this podcast. He said broadcast. My mouth said podcast. So hold this, don't let it go. Stay in this version. So, Lady Nada. In Atlantis, there were different politics that were ruling society than there are today. And lately, I have been talking to people who are in the law fields or in architecture or in all these other aspects where they have this calling to be a light worker, but they don't have an interest in actually healing people. They know that they're meant to bring higher vibrational light into reality, but not in the form of typical one on one healing, as many light workers do in this reality. Can you shed how in Atlantis there were many spectrums of light workers that came from the ultimate source, which is light? Yes, I can. It's important to understand the vibration that each individual character in this dimension holds. Your strengths are not something to be diminished or pushed aside, as they are part of your grandest vibration. Some experience the understanding of mechanics or the understanding of law. When a system is broken, there creates a shadow. All light workers bring light into the shadow so that the shadow may be understood as light. Repatterning of a darker spectrum of light, known as the shadow, is always integral for the growth of man. For instance, stepping into a courtroom in Atlantis, our morals for the courtroom were heavily different than that which is now. We understood that we could not just rely on typical modes of understanding in which your society understands law. There are many aspects due to duality that brought certain individuals into a karmic stance with the ultimate law of the shared consciousness, which is reality. It is important that every aspect of fifth dimensional New Earth be transmuted and takes on a new figure from that of the old. We must change our architecture. We must change our laws. We must change our society and every vital aspect that is New Earth. For the entire system is flawed in one way, shape, or form. Some are completely necessary to be dismantled. Others may be modified. Every light worker should not limit themselves to the understanding of light work in the terms of healing. Healing takes many shapes, many forms. Similar to the previous question in which I had answered, when you heal yourself, you send a ripple effect. When you use your divine abilities to heal a portion of the illusion, that sends ripples into the synchronistic magic that others will experience. A building created with gardening, what you call hydroponics, community understanding, and synchronistic structuring that allows the harmony of earth and man will bring higher levels of consciousness than a building that never took these considerations to begin with. every garden that exists, for every farmer that is a light worker, the methodology in which they care for their farm versus the methodology of another who is not in alignment with that highest spectrum of light naturally shifts the dimensional consciousness in which we each experience. When we choose to even take art and change it from a form of simple self-expression to the form of expressing a greater whole, we focus on changing the collective mind. For there are light workers who are now invested in the music of sound, creating not only binaural beats, but conscious music, which reminds the human condition of its highest vibration. This too is light work. Light work is only as linear and as limited as the experience that the collective chooses to express. The time of healing in the terms of one-on-one understanding, similar to Reiki, are necessary but outdated. As in fifth dimensional New Earth, we are breaking contracts, so we are reshaping the world. The world must be reshaped in the many vibrations that it is created in, as duality and polarity will always pursue to exist. It is important to shift reality towards the highest spectrums of the golden age, but one must always understand that in the third dimension, we will always fall back into the Iron Age. Every aspect of conscious creation must be created under the scope of infinity, understanding that one day it too shall perish and be forgotten, that one day it may easily be lost like the civilizations that came before your time. For in Atlantis we had advanced technology that ye not know now. We brought sciences and medicines that have yet to be discovered in this timeline. Though we do not exist and we may have seemed like we faded from your perception of reality due to the element of time, thou still hears of our echo. Thou still believes in Atlantis. Thou still knows Atlantis was true. We managed to leave our echoed vibration through scriptures, through other societies, and through the collective mind, which is DNA activation. We may be an enigma, we may be a phantom, but a phantom that echoes and causes the many to pursue the one, the understanding of self, the understanding that's been lost. With every creation that is put into your dimensional landscape, you must always think of the echo of Atlantis and how in hundreds of thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, or simple decades, will your creation, created through infinity, last as an echo to the collective mind. For when you create in purpose, not only purpose of self, but purpose of infinity, you become a divine creator. you tend to the greater family. You tend to the whole expression of self. Do not limit yourself, my children, to the understanding of light as a linear concept. For light composes everything, and light will be the ultimate answer for all that live in a fifth dimensional construct, fully empowered to themselves and to the collective whole. That is all for now. Okay, okay, okay. I don't remember what she said, um, but I do remember just seeing like a building and her saying that basically light work is outdated. Sorry, I check out sometimes, so I totally like blah. But yeah, I saw buildings, and then all I can remember now is she basically said that like time is like the way we understand light work is outdated in the terms of like if you've been feeling this call, this push to like accelerate your ascension to like be super powerful, but you feel like, hey, healing's not for me, then you need to find what your vibration of light is so that you can be that light worker. Because a lot of people are, I meet people all the time who come to me and they're like, oh, you know, I met this psychic or had this dream or whatever that told me that I'm supposed to be like this light worker, I'm supposed to be this healer, but I can't get my mind out of like, you know, I love being in the courtroom. I love being, you know, in the front lines of medicine where people are coming into the ER. Like, if that's what you thrive for, that's a vibration of light. You have to go towards that. It's how you choose to enact that vibration that really plays a greater scope into the great creation. Because, for instance, there are a lot of doctors that are in the medical field that are high up, right? And they learn how to disconnect from empathy and sympathy. So they have to go literally, this is a real thing. They have to go through empathy and sympathizing training to not seem so cold to other people, right? And it's because after a while of dealing with so many deaths, with experiencing so much trauma, you get kind of cut off to it. And if you don't end up, you know, looking at that as a problem, right? And you don't start bringing into your reality like a different vibration of that, you're not helping the collective whole, right? So that's why now societies like are starting to incorporate Reiki in hospitals, because it's not only through shifting chemical compositions with physical, you know, herbalism or pills or operating on someone, it's sometimes states of energy and consciousness that have to be shifted. Not only does it help the patient, but it opens the healer or the doctor, right, to new perspectives of healing. That automatically shifts reality to new earth, right? So maybe you work in an office or you maintain like group activities. How do you expand those activities? How do you make those activities more powerful? They can bring, you know, consciousness into people. Why don't you, if you're an architect, why don't you just take over that aspect of like creating conscious architecture, conscious art, conscious music? It's slowly coming to me as I'm speaking about it again. But it makes a lot of sense because not everyone's designed for this one vibration of being a healer. And some people feel like they're pushed on the sidelines because they can't heal like I do, or they can't heal like a lot of people have been. And it's not saying that everyone who's been healing in this style for a while is not important. You just have to maybe think about, maybe if you've gotten bored of healing, what else can you do? Because I've definitely been there. I've been in this moment where I'm tired of healing people. I'll heal people because I'm good at it, and it's, I do enjoy it, but it's not what I want to do anymore, right? So I had to find what my truest vibration of light is. We think about light work as being this one standard thing, but when I saw it, I saw this prism, and it was showing me like, oh, light workers that heal, light workers that do architecture, light workers that do this, they're coming through the main core, which is light, and expressing all this energy. Cool. So let me see. There was another question I wanted to ask Raphael, because Raphael's my homeboy. Raphael, so like lately you and I have been meditating, and you've been showing me like these moments of when you've been in battle, and how, even being like an angel, an archangel, or divine being, there is still like this perception of strength and brutality, really. Like, what can you share with this community about these aspects of having an angelic self or angelic attributes, and still being able to be the complete opposite within just nature? Everyone take a deep breath. This task is simple to explain. Duality will always exist. There is no escape from duality. The duality of oneself will open doors into self-understanding, in which one must understand that it is always a disservice to attract only one polarity over another. If one wants to become a true divine being, they understand that their divine power takes many forms. Their divine power is always polarized in every aspect of every reality. For when I slay a spirit that is causing evil or harm to another's reality, I am a hero, and to the spirit being vanquished, I am the villain. For the person who is experiencing the ill will of their health, they too will spectrum the understanding of villainy and heroism. For every individual who experiences any issue of self, always opens a door of invitation to that evil which they feel victimized to. It is to say that every victim agreed to being victimized, and every victim comes to a point where they choose to switch duality and polarity to the opposite extreme of non-victimization, which is breaking a contract of agreement to becoming a victim or being a victim. Their initial understanding was life and just. For many, their victimization brings them success, brings them drive, brings them openings of manifestation. It is not until a certain pattern has become outdated within the person's inner consciousness that they choose to shift to an opposite polarity. The moment that they become aware and they shift their polarity, they then become the anti-hero to that reality in which they existed in. They expand themselves closer to a polarity which seems like destruction, which may seem like chaos, which may seem like evil, until they break the threshold and they stepped into the vibration of light, which now serves them and the collective whole. For even when you choose to destroy one reality and embrace another, the destruction is simultaneous internally. The old reality that one leaves that seems evil or disadvantageous, the old entity in which we break from, will always see you as the demonized force or the anti-hero, for you no longer resonate with that reality, and you no longer choose to sustain that reality. For every creation, every dream, every character in a dream is only maintained by the dreamer. When one breaks this threshold from destruction into creation, destruction into rebirth, one understands a greater value. But it is important to maintain the conscious duality in every manifestation. So when one chooses to look at light warriorship only seems violent, disadvantageous, brutal, and exalting to the element that is directly being adjusted. For every adjustment must create itself and exist in an alternate reality. That parallel chooses to attach itself to an aspect of the ego. The ego feeds the attachment, and the resistance is the cutting or the surgical removal and death of the ego that attaches you to one particular reality, outcome, or manifestation. For all these definitions always come back to this one simple understanding that every moment exists in twilight. Twilight is the ultimate answer to everything that is. Twilight allows the warrior to embrace light and its spectrums of destruction to defend those in need. Similarly, the shadow can embrace the light to highlight a focal point and create distraction while the masses are looking at one particular objective of reality. To exist in twilight is to understand both of these aspects and understanding that one can create a middle ground that is endless, infinite in nature, at times without ethics, and at others with the highest caliber of ethics. And each momentum can be just, it can be justified under the spectrum of the self and the experience of the other. For when you transcend your linear reality, you come to understand every aspect that has ever been in this storyline. To transcend death when the physical vehicle can no longer maintain the essence of the soul. The bridgeway is a flashpoint of self-understanding and self-release. That every decision, positive and or negative, was essential for the creation of the ultimate creation of dreaming that you are in. When one dies through the physical vehicle, one transforms beyond the limits of the attachments in which the human ethical system and the creations of self have perpetuated through illusion. That is all for now, as this vessel is coming low to transmission time. Okay, hold on. You can't just leave me out because, oh yes, nice. You did it like on the clock. Well, thank you. I understand why you did it now. Wait, Raphael. So you're basically saying that through twilight, like if you embrace twilight, you're actually embracing the full power of light, because no matter what you do, you're always going to look good or bad to someone else in their reality, whether it's challenging them or being of service. Like there's always going to be something in reality that's going to see you as a spectrum of light and a spectrum of negativity. And he says, yes, that is correct. That's very interesting, because essentially, like, your power, and I've been saying this in other meditations too, is like your power is really only based off of your ethics. Like, if you have an ethics that changes, and understanding like unconditional love. Like, I had a lecture in Antojai alchemy that was about Hitler, essentially, and understanding unconditional love. When you see that Hitler did have a wife, did have a family, and he was really connected to his dream, Hitler experienced love in his reality. And that was a driving force, which from the shadows he could justify as why he was doing everything that he was doing, right? Like, having unconditional love is understanding that someone like Hitler was being driven by some sort of passion, right? And it to a lot of people on, this spectrum of reality, we all look at him like, holy crap, psychopath, right? An evil person. But ultimately, like, from his perspective, he could simply look at everyone on the opposite side of the coin and be like, you guys don't get it. You guys are evil, right? You guys are the one that's perpetuating the problem. And when you can kind of see that, not necessarily justifying him, but having this level of like, oh, okay, like, even the darkest of beings from our perspective are still somewhat connected to love. They're still being driven by some sort of love, no matter, even if that love seems twisted to us. When you can stand in the twilight, you can see a bigger spectrum. And like, if you've been taking the Atlantean alchemy on Patreon, like, I've been talking about a curved angle, right? Like, through Atlantean alchemy. And that's how you end up seeing that curved angle. That's how I'm seeing the understanding, because it's so easy for us to like classify not only things that happen externally as good or bad, but things that are inside of us that are good or bad. And that can be a limitation, because I'm bad. If you wholeheartedly believe that I'm a bad communicator, that'll work against you, right? And then you create a whole reality around that aspect of like, I'm a bad communicator, so when I stand in front of people, I stutter a lot. When I stand in front of people, I can't speak at all, or I stay at home because I have social phobia. Like, but if you change the narrative and you stand in the twilight and you say, I don't prefer to do these things, but I'm not bad at them, I just haven't practiced them as much. You then open up aspects of light that then let you take momentum from the light and shift, the fact that in an old reality, you weren't a good communicator. And then you come to the twilight aspect and you're like, oh, I can talk to people. It's just a preference of mine, right? And you shifted subtly like that, just your internal structure. Similarly, once you get to neutrality, you can be like, shift all the way to the light. And in the light, you're the best, most amazing communicator in the freaking world, right? So it's like, it's very interesting to kind of like come back to some of the stuff that I've been publishing lately. It's all about like seeing in a different aspect of self and being able to open up this understanding that you're not evil. Like, even if you have anger inside of you, even if you've done things in the past, something drove you to do that. Rather it was ignorance, rather it was something else. Like, the darkness is only a spectrum of light that would have allowed you to have that experience so you can gain more light, right? Because every negative experience that happens to us, doesn't it bring us closer to light? So wouldn't that negative experience just be a spectrum of light that we chose to look at as darkness by default in polarity? Therefore, you wouldn't be able to really look at the full spectrum of reality for actually what it is, which is just perpetual light. When you stand in twilight, there's no true darkness. And hopefully that all makes sense to you, because that's how I've been learning it lately through my meditations. But thank you, Lady Nada. Thank you, Raphael, for having this conversation with us today. And we're giving you a ton of love. Deep breath, everyone. And exhale. If you're feeling stuck with your ascension and you need some help, you want to find some clarity, set up a clarity call with me. It's going to be in my description below. Click on that little call or send me a message on Instagram saying clarity call at Antojai on Instagram, and I will respond back to you and we can find you whatever it is that you need to do to accelerate your ascension, so you can do stuff like this all the time. This is just like life, ascension is a lifestyle. You gotta bump with that. Thank you, everyone. I'm just gonna take a second here to like hover through some of these comments because I can't read them when I'm channeling, obviously. Ooh, nice. Somebody channeled one of those messages last night. Somebody asked about God. So the way that Raphael and even Nada express God, it's not the God that everyone thinks to be like the Christian one God, right? It's not even that. It's like the way he shows it to me in my mind is like this kaleidoscope of energy, right? And it's aware of itself, but it has absolutely no presence or preference towards anything. So in moments when you connect with it, you might connect with just source, like this blank space that allows you to create whatever. Or it could be like a singular consciousness that retains like all the information of the world, almost like an encyclopedia ball that you can talk to. Um, or it can be like the shape of a person, like a male or female. Like some people relate to God as like a female or other people as a male. Like I refer to God, if I were to think of God, which I don't think of God, but if I were to think of God like that, like it would be a queer person, androgynous, both sexes, similar to Shiva and Shakti. You know what I mean? When they meditate together, they're like one of the same. That's how he shows it to me in my mind. Which means like the word God itself is not the problem. Like it's natural for the human condition to look at the word God and be like, oh, the guy, the big guy, right? That's an internal limitation that you have. So you have to find a way to let the word God take a bunch of different forms, even forms that may make you feel uncomfortable. Like God can easily just be an alien, right? Or God could be like a female, or God could be male, or God could be amorphous, or God could be like an encyclopedia that doesn't really have a consciousness or care towards anything. So that's one of the things that you really got to pay attention to over there when he was responding to that. Such intense vibrations going through every cell of my being. Yes. I love spiritual stuff, and I know I'm a light worker. Thank you for channeling this. My pleasure. Someone else got the same messages last night. More messages. Light workers can be other than healer. Yeah, some people found that beautiful. Principle of polarity. So polarity and duality are the same thing. If you guys don't know what they were talking about when they were talking about polarity and duality, I highly recommend that you guys pick up the Hermetica, or you guys pick up the Kabbalion. Those are going to basically tell you about the laws of polarity. There's a lot of different esoteric books that talk about it, but it kind of just depends on, what best works with you. Polarity and duality are different, but duality would be like the supremacy of like positive and negative. Polarity would be positive and negative. And depending on what aspect of reality you're going to look at polarity from, if you look at it from fifth dimension, like they're all the choices of the multiverse that we have. If you look at it from second dimension, it's just simply the yin and the yang that comes from experiencing source itself. So it kind of just depends on what you're going to look for that. Um, mm, 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 mm. This is synchronicity for me. I need to confirm what I already know for me and my upcoming shift. Yeah, sometimes we do. Sometimes you know stuff and you just need these moments right here to just be like, "Hey, holy crap. I can't believe that I channeled that." Like, let me tell you something, okay? And I'm putting this in our next Patreon classes. If you guys are part of Patreon, check out another link below if you guys want to check that out and become a part of it. You can fund more stuff like this and have really cool classes on top of it too. We're going to be meditating almost every day next month in May. But basically, like for the longest time, I've been telling people like my cosmic parents, right? And like I just tell people like my cosmic father is Thoth, like based off of what I remember and what I know and living in Egypt and Atlantis and whatever. I've always said that like I most recently on my Facebook posted that I am naturally attracted to Virgos, right? And like I cannot date a Virgo because they can't handle an Aries. So like it always blows up in my face, but every person I find attractive, I'm like, ooh, so sexy. Right? And I instantly say, watch it be a Virgo. Watch it be a Virgo. And always happens that way. So I have this natural propensity towards that. So designing the latest course that I've been working on, which is like, neurocodes, Atlantean alchemy, Druid alchemy, earth alchemy, basically, I decided to dive into the horoscope. And I started looking into a bunch of different cultures and a bunch of different horoscope understandings. And I got to this moment where I was like, oh, let me reference the Egyptian horoscope. I look up my data on the Egyptian horoscope, and my horoscope is Thoth. Never knew that up until most recently, like yesterday, that I started doing it. I'm like, holy crap. And then when you look up the information of having the horoscope of Thoth, it says the best two allies are Isis and Beset. If you guys are on my Patreon or followed any of my classes, I have definitely told you that Isis is my homegirl. Isis was one of my mentors when she was physically incarnate. And it's like, holy crap. But it didn't start. It did not fucking stop there. It was like, oh, complementary astral signs for people who are of those zodiac, Virgo. And I'm like, oh my God, no wonder why. It's like built into my system that I'm attracted to like Virgos. And I thought it was like this conscious aspect. And I've always known this about me, but then seeing it like through that message to align itself higher for me was so like eye-opening. Like I've known things about myself that I've never been able to fully prove, but they always come to me. Every manifestation always comes to you. So that's always really fun. We stand in a neutral place. It is the other people whose perception that they have. Exactly. And that's why when you're doing like spiritual growth, it's so hard because maybe you come from a family who's not super enlightened, right? And you're having this moment, and for them, they see us, going crazy or talking to the devil in some cases or something like that. And you have to understand that you can't let that affect you, and you have to live your whole entire life that way. It's really the most successful people that make millions, that are like in media and stuff like that. They all will tell you the same thing. You have to come to a point where you don't care what other people think. Like you just have to do you, because some people are going to like it. Some people aren't. Is their perception of what's going to go on. Right. And I've definitely seen that with my work. Like I have, I have definitely like, I've taught a bunch of people. A lot of people like my work, and every once in a while, I find somebody who just absolutely hates me, and I'm just like, what did I do to I don't get it, right? But like that's in their reality. Sometimes it has to do with their consciousness level, like whatever it is that you're bringing to the world, whether it's what you're saying, what you're vibrating, it's a hard reflection of something inside of them that they don't want to look at. So like whenever someone has an adverse reaction to the light, right? Especially with me, when someone really can't stand me and I haven't done anything but just be me, I automatically see, oh, well, I'm the light aspect of yin and yang, and they're the shadow aspect of yin and yang. The reason why there's tension is because I'm illuminating something inside of them that they just can't stand and deal with. And that's why I seem like, that person where like, I just can't stand Axel, or I can't stand Antojai's work or whatever. And I have always said this, like, it's only a matter of time until like you see it. You may not never have to tell me. You'll never probably come to tell me anyway, because some people are like, they have a lot of pride. But I've waited years where people have like slammed me just to come back around and be like, oh, I get it now. Right? Because their level of consciousness was perceiving your vibration as like enemy or resistance, right? And only a person can elevate their consciousness or shift their reality in general if they participate. They have to willingly allow themselves to open up to you. That's why when someone is like really angry with me, I don't argue with them. I instantly tell them if I feel like it's starting to turn into an argument, I tell them, let's have a discussion. Like, let's talk, because then we stay in this neutral point and you're not getting polarized. I'm not getting polarized, and we won't be like, ah, you know what I mean? Instead, like, let's discuss this. Okay, I got something to say. Let me speak. Okay, you say something I would like to hear. And it's a very powerful essence to have in your mind if you can kind of calibrate your mind to have all these different experiences like that. Um, and also it makes you like, it definitely makes you less stressed out, because when someone does chew you out or someone doesn't see with you eye to eye, you end up getting to this point where you're like, you fully understand it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them and something in their reality that's flawed, or their internal sanctuary that's flawed. And when you're there, like, you can let these things roll off your back, like no big deal whatsoever. Um, all right. Yes, source more the a being. Okay. Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching, and it's going to be up for a couple hours for the rest of today, so share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed, press subscribe, press the little notification button, and check out whatever the links that I post down below. If you need a session, if you want to like check out my new courses, if you need one-on-one coaching, it's all going to be down there. And thank you, love you. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.